If anything's more terrifying than a serial killer, it is a serial killer who feels no remorse for their deeds. Those killers have sought penance for their crimes, but there are those really heartless creatures who lack all humanity. These are the murderers who have never shown regret for their actions. Given their horrible behavior in court, it is likely that these ruthless killers would not have stopped if they had not been arrested by law authorities. Killers without remorse, entirely devoid of empathy. This is what we're dealing with, the pure evil fiends that never felt remorse for their actions. Not only did they not apologize to the families of their victims, but they frequently took pleasure in their murders. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we'll be looking at killers who show no remorse to victims' families in court. Yeah, you heard it right. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader, often known as BTK, an acronym for his modus operandi, bind, torture, kill, was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms in 2005 for conducting a series of killings in Wichita, Kansas, beginning in 1974. During his trial, Rader, who was also a Boy Scout leader and a church deacon, exhibited a smug, almost sexual satisfaction as he recounted the horrific details of his crimes. In recounting the murder of 24-year-old Shirley Vian by strangulation, he stated that he had first restrained her children in another room in an effort to keep them quiet. Richard Ramirez. During the summer of 1985, Richard Ramirez terrorized Southern California with a spree of violence. The Texas murderer, who became known as the Night Stalker, beat, raped, strangled, shot, and slit the throats of his victims in a frenzy of violence that he said was a sacrifice to Satan. Upon being convicted of 13 murders and 30 other felonies, a body of work that sentenced him to the gas chamber, Ramirez delivered a remorseless, chilling monologue. "You don't understand me, you're not expected to, you're not capable of it. I am beyond your experience, I am beyond good and evil. I will be avenged, Lucifer dwells in us all. That's it." Stephen Griffiths. Stephen Griffiths, a doctoral student in criminology at Bradford University in England, craved greater notoriety than was possible in academia. Griffiths' objectives mirrored those of his idol, Peter Sutcliffe, often known as the Yorkshire Ripper. Griffiths began carrying out the first of 3 homicides in Bradford in 2009, a series of crimes that would shake the city and win him the self-explanatory moniker, the Crossbow Cannibal. The English press published CCTV footage showing a brazen Griffiths celebrating the murder of his final victim, 36-year-old Suzanne Blamires, by pointing his crossbow directly at a camera in the hallway of his apartment building shortly after his arrest. As terrible as the video was, it was never revealed in court because the fame-hungry Griffiths was eager to confess to his murders, explaining in graphic detail how he dismembered his victims in his bathtub before ingesting parts of their flesh. Joseph Paul Franklin. Joseph Paul Franklin was a neo-Nazi serial killer who shot pornography mogul Larry Flynt. Although Flynt survived the attack, Franklin began a killing rampage in 1977 in which he murdered at least 15 individuals. Authorities believe he is responsible for as many as 22 racially motivated murders, but the slaying of Gerald Gordon outside of a St. Louis synagogue earned him the death penalty. Franklin, who showed no remorse in court, will later seek to justify his crusade to CNN. "I felt like I was at war, the survival of the white race was at stake. I considered it my mission, my 3-year mission, the same length of time that Jesus was on his mission, from the time he was 30 to 33. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, a serial killer and rapist, and maybe the origin of clowns being criticized as frightening, committed 33 murders in the Chicago suburbs between 1972 and 1978. The contractor and part-time children's birthday clown would entice teenage males back to his home with the pretense of parties or construction jobs, before raping, strangling, and burying them in his crawlspace. In 1978, the law finally caught up with Gacy after a concerned mother reported that her son had vanished with him. Gacy confessed to cops of all his crimes, but then recanted and joked at his trial that the only crime he committed was running a cemetery without a license. He was found guilty of multiple murders and sentenced to death by a jury. Gacy was executed in 1994, and his final statement was a concise summary of his life and crimes. "Kiss my ass," he said. Carl Panzram. Some consider Carl Panzram to be the most vicious serial killer in history. The Minnesota native committed a total of 21 murders and an unknown number of rapes, all of young boys and men, across the United States as well as the African nation of Angola, where he claimed to have killed 6 local guides before feeding them to crocodiles. Panzram was ultimately executed at Leavenworth Penitentiary in 1930 for smashing another prisoner's head in with an iron club. He was doing a 25-year bid at the time for the murder and rape of 2 boys. He greeted his execution with anger and defiance, his final words being, "Hurry it up, you Hoosier bastard." Albert Fish. Between 1924 and 1934, Albert Fish, sometimes known as the Gray Man, committed as many as 10 killings in the state of New York. In 1935, he was ultimately convicted of the murders of 3 small children. Fish later developed a taste for human flesh after murdering, dismembering, and swallowing Grace Budd, age 10. In 1928, in a harsh letter to the child's mother, he described his cooking technique. "First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook, and eat it. How sweet and tender her little lass was roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not F her though. I could have if I wished. She died a virgin." So that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so that you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you in the next video.